let's go ahead and hop right in to our Notre Dame Fighting Irish preview. Now, what we're going to say to kick off this whole thing is that, for one, you know your team better than us, so if we missed anything, make sure you put that down in the comment section. And also, this is being recorded in late July, so this is done before. If there's anything major that changes, we'll try to get back on and update. If that changes, and if it's going to change anything, like with our predictions, anything like that. But we wanted to make that little qualifier here. So if you're catching this in mid-August, it came across your YouTube screen, just know that it was recorded before anything. If there's anything that major happens between now and the kickoff of the season, this was recorded back in late July. So as of right now, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish are ranked 9th in ESPN's FPI Power Index. This is before the AP polls are even released. Looking back at how the Irish were a year ago, they went 9-4. They won the Gator Bowl over South Carolina. They do have some notable departures. A lot of players out the door. Tyler Buckner and Drew Pine, their two quarterbacks, they both transfer. Logan Diggs, running back, he's also gone. And then Michael Mayer and Isaiah Foskey, the tight end and defensive lineman, they're gone to the NFL. So some big contributors on their way out. But let's focus on the players that they're going to have this year because they do have a pretty solid team going into 2023. When we look at players to watch, we're going to name an offensive and a defensive player to watch. For me, offensively, the one that stands out is, the Wake Forest transfer, Sam Hartman. That's kind of where your eyes go first, but I think I'm going a little bit of a different direction with this, and I want to highlight the Notre Dame wide receivers. And the reason why I want to talk about them is that the last 2 seasons, Sam Hartman had a 2-time All-ACC wide receiver in A.T. Perry to throw to. He had some great talent. Perry had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons. And over the last 2 seasons, 10 receivers for Wake Forest finished with more receiving yards than Jaden Thomas, who is the leading returning receiver for the Irish. So a lot of receiving talent. Now, granted, it's because they Hartman is, a higher tier quarterback.
Hartman's good.
Right, Hartman's had a higher tier quarterback than what Notre Dame's had these past few years. But still, 361 yards for Thomas a year ago. And because what we've seen a lot from Notre Dame is it's been a lot of the running game. It's been a lot of Michael Mayer. That's what we've seen a lot through the offense. So I'll be interested to see how involved these wide receivers are and who's going to emerge as the top target for Hartman. Whether that's going to be, whether that's going to be Deion Colsey, whether that's going to be Jaden Thomas, whether that's going to be Tobias Merriweather, because all eyes are going to be on Hartman. We know the running game is solid. Audric Estime is back. He returns as the leading rusher. There's a lot of talent on this team. So who rises to the top when it comes to the wide receiver core? I'm really interested to see, kind of who emerges as Hartman's top target in the early stages of the season.
Yeah, so, like you said, the obvious choice is Sam Hartman. But one of the guys I'm looking at, we look at all the guys that left. There was a lot. They lost quite a bit on offense, transfer portal. However, they do bring back leading rusher Audric Estime. If I am pronouncing his last name wrong,
it's Estime, I think.
Estime? Okay. I just want to make sure.
It's tough.
Yeah, but he's back after finishing with 920 yards and 11 scores last year. He was averaging close to 6 yards per rush. So that's really impressive. And I think as you are working in a new quarterback, yes, he's an experienced quarterback, but you're working in a newer quarterback with newer wide receivers. Having that kind of fallback, having a good running back behind you. He was nearly a 1,000-yard rusher. Like I said, he accounted for 11 scores. So he knows how to get the job done, and that kind of will really help them, especially considering this year that not only are they breaking in a new quarterback, but they're also breaking in a new offensive coordinator, Jared Parker, who, by the way, Jared Parker and Coach Marcus Freeman, They were both on the coaching staff at Purdue under the Darrell Hazel era, and Jared Parker was actually the interim head coach once they fired Darrell Hazel. So both of those guys were very much loved and liked. They're both very talented coaches. But Jared Parker, he is known for his coaching of wide receivers and tight ends. So it's going to be interesting to see how he can utilize these younger wide receivers and then maybe work in the running game as well. But yeah, I'm really looking at Audric Estime to really be a focal point as well of that offense to kind of help transition everything a little bit easier.
Yeah, you make a good point, because as this new offense is kind of being worked out, because yeah, I mean, you wonder with a new offensive coordinator, how different is this offense going to look from years past, because not only you have that talented running back coming back, but the last couple of years, I mean, it's been a very, the running game has been so pivotal. Now that you have kind of the tools to be a better passing team, how different is it, especially early on in the season? And yeah, I think having a running back that is, is very, familiar with the system and able to really, get going, I think that's going to be really key. So that's a good point brought up by you, that I think having that experience in the backfield, and also, I mean, he can be pivotal out of the backfield, like catching passes in a pinch too. So he's a good asset to have for the offense. Defensively, I'm looking at defensive lineman Javonte Jean-Baptiste. He's a transfer from Ohio State. He was third on the Buckeyes with 4 sacks in 2022, which would have also put him third on the Irish in sacks as well, if, with that amount under his belt. Obviously, Isaiah Foskey leaves some big shoes to fill. But the Irish will need someone to step up on that defensive line, and I think Jean-Baptiste can be that guy. So I wanna see what he can do on that defensive line. Obviously, the reason why he would have been third is because Foskey set that number so high in sack totals. But if he can, even get to 3, maybe 4 again this year, that would be a big help for that defense.
Oh yeah, for sure. One of the guys I'm looking at, he's been around for a long time, and is a name that has become synonymous with the Notre Dame defense. He was the second leading tackler last year. That is safety Jack Kaiser. To me, he just seems to fit the mold of what you expect from a leader within the secondary of the Notre Dame defense. I mean, I don't know why. It just kind of reminds me, throwing it way back, but Tom Zibikowski, that kind of player, that kind of leader. And this is his team now. This is his defense. It's time for him to step up into that big time leadership role. He has, but take it on even more now as a senior. So I'm really interested to see how he can take hold of this defense and go and lead it into the season and help it improve, because there was some question marks about that defense last year. I mean, they were giving up 329 yards per game and 29 points per game. Maybe on the yardage, give or take 5 to 10 yards. But it was in the over 300 yards per game. So you want to see that defense kind of shore up a little bit. And one of the ways that it can do that is getting some good production out of its secondary, and having a player like Jack Kaiser roaming around there and at safety, it is a big help. So I expect big things out of him. His stats may not pop off the stat sheet for you this year, but sometimes as a leader, that's almost a good thing. You want to see him really kind of quarterbacking that defense mostly.
Yeah, I mean, and heck, I mean, you said he was the second leading tackler last year. I mean, and that was your player to watch on defense last year was Jack Kaiser, and he went and proved you right. So I mean, he's gonna be a pivotal member on that defense. Looking at kind of the storyline for the Notre Dame Fighting Irish this year, I think the biggest thing is what is the improvement in year 2 under Marcus Freeman? What can we kind of expect, and can this team potentially compete for a college football playoff spot. The Irish started the 2022 season 3-3. We know about the bad loss to Marshall. We know, they also then a couple weeks later lost to Stanford, who wasn't very good, but they did finish the season 5-1, including a big dominating win over number 4 Clemson at home. They went toe-to-toe with Heisman winner Caleb Williams in the final regular season game of the season. They do go on and defeat number 19 South Carolina in the Gator Bowl. I mean, that's a South Carolina team that beat Tennessee. They were world beaters towards the end of the year last year. And so you wonder, Brian Kelly was 8-5 in his first 2 seasons with the Irish. But with a high-caliber quarterback like Sam Hartman, the best quarterback they've had in a while, and a strong finish to 2022, you want to know what that momentum is and how that's going to carry over into 23, because they've got some tune-up games early in the year. They've got but then they turn on. They have some big games on the road at NC State. They go to Clemson. They've also got USC at home. They've got Ohio State at home. So they've you wonder kind of, what can we expect? Can we expect another 8-win season? Can we expect another 9-win season? Or can they even be better than that and be in that playoff conversation?
Yeah, I mean, what I want to see is, I just want to see the continued growth from the momentum that they found at the end of last season. I mean, the schedule starts off pretty slow for them. Obviously, you get an extra couple of weeks because you start off the season in Dublin against Navy. And then you come home and I hate to say it, but a cakewalk against Tennessee State. That first trap game could potentially be that September 9th game on the road at NC State. But if they can get through that one, I think you could see them kind of round into form. However, when I look at the rest of their schedule, I'm only seeing about 9-10 wins. I know, only, but playing Ohio State is a totally different ball game. I mean, that offense is going to be crazy good. That defense is crazy good. The USC and Clemson games are a little bit of toss-ups for me. I want to see more. USC to me is in the same boat as Notre Dame. I want to see more out of them, and I expect more out of them. I think we could honestly see a really good game there because of Sam Hartman being the best quarterback Notre Dame has had in quite some time. And they looked good last year at the end of the season. They put up a fight against USC. But I think now Sam Hartman could potentially be that tipping point for them to get them over that hump. I mean, this team could honestly, lose one time or lose 3 times. I don't see them losing really any more than 3 times this year, which honestly, it's not going to put them in the conversation for the hunt for the college football playoff. Just by basically like looking at the other contenders there. However, if for some reason, if Notre Dame is able to pull off the huge upset at home against Ohio State, I think that changes the whole trajectory of the entire season, and it really puts them firmly in that conversation. A loss to Ohio State's not going to eliminate you altogether, but if the Big Ten gets 2 in again, and the SEC is looking like they're going to get 2 in again, if it comes down to a 1-loss Ohio State versus a 1-loss Notre Dame, and Ohio State's, Notre Dame's 1 loss was to Ohio State, that kind of makes the decision easier for the committee. But I think the whole season really, in the terms of that conversation, does depend on that Ohio State game right there.
So, looking at their schedule, as you mentioned, they kick off August 26th versus Navy in Dublin. Then in September at home against Tennessee State, at NC State. Then they go. They're at home against Central Michigan. They're at home against Ohio State, and then finish off the month at Duke. In October, they're at Louisville before facing USC and Pitt at home. And then in November, they're at Clemson. They're at home against Wake Forest, and then on the road at Stanford to close out the season. So looking at our record prediction, the over under for according to DraftKings right now, I'm sure. I mean, it'll definitely change maybe in the next month or so before the season starts. So maybe not too horribly much, but right now the over under is at 9 wins. It's really tough. But I do think they will be. I think 9 wins is the floor. Like you said, I don't foresee them losing much more of that. They are going to start 4-0. They'll have Ohio State at home. And I think you can really start kind of, when you look down their schedule, you can kind of start talking yourself into, hey, could they have 10, 11 wins? Because you look at the Buckeyes game, I think the Buckeyes are the reverse of the Irish in the sense that they have amazing receivers, but they have an unproven quarterback. So I don't think it's 100%. An automatic loss. I mean, yeah, obviously Ohio State.
Well, I will say this: Ohio State has an extremely long winning streak against Notre Dame.
True.
Like for some reason, Ohio State in general is just Notre Dame's Achilles heel. Notre Dame can look really, really, really good all season. Then they'll play Ohio State in a bowl game and absolutely get curb stomped. For some reason, it's just Ohio State. Well, I guess the last time these two teams played, it came down to the wire.
In Columbus,
but it's
too.
Still.
See, because
yeah,
I think, because I think Notre Dame fans obviously are going to have high hopes for this season. They're going to pack the house against Ohio State like they do for every game, but still, they're going to that place is going to be rocking. First real road test for the new quarterback for Ohio State. I mean, I'm saying it's not totally out of the woods to think that could be a loss for Ohio State and a win for Notre Dame. I think Ohio State's going to be favored.
If you're trying to break in a new quarterback, what better way to break them in than having Marvin Harrison Jr. or Emeka Egbuka?
I'm not saying he's going to go out there and throw 5 interceptions that are going to lose by 20. I'm just saying that it's not out of the woods to say that that's a possibility for them to get the win there. They do get USC at home. We know how the Pac-12 teams like to just not get it done when it matters. They did hang in there on the road in the Coliseum last year, and I mean they play Clemson on the road. They could probably stumble there, but all the stumbling blocks for the Irish this year are not set in stone.
Right, I think that's a potential win more so for Notre Dame than people want to give them. I'm not 100% sold on Clemson. I haven't seen much from the past couple of years that really says, yeah, Clemson's back, baby. They're strong as ever. Notre Dame's kind of had Clemson's number. And I don't know. I just feel like this is a good potential win for Notre Dame. However, it is very tough to go into Clemson and come out with a W.
Right.
But it is possible. We've seen it done by lesser opponents in the past few years. So it can be done. And that's where I think if I had to look at a potential upset, I don't even want to call that one an upset, but a potential bigger win, I would look at Clemson.
Yeah. And so I think I'm going 9-3 as my record prediction. I know that's right at the over/under. I don't feel super comfortable picking 10 wins because also, I mean, for as much as we're hyping up Notre Dame right now, for the the Clemsons and Ohio States, I mean, we also know them to sometimes stumble. Like I could see them losing at NC State as well. I'm going 9-3.
Don't sleep on at Louisville. Don't sleep on at Louisville. They got their coach that they've wanted all along.
Right. So I think 9-3 is a good number. I want to go higher, but I think that's a good ballpark. And hey, one more win than what they had last year, and I think that the program is trending in the right direction.
Yeah.
You going 9-3 as well?
Yeah, I'm going 9-3 as well. I think when I look at this schedule, that's the comfortable, but I could see it even 11-1.
Yeah. Yeah, I think anywhere between that 9 to 11 wins is pretty feasible to think that they could do that.